Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an Object Show fan that has barely watched any Object shows. We have to fix that. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome in to Object Catchup, the series where we discuss Object Show episodes right after watching them. Whether they are new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. Now, for today, I don't have like a major plan. I mainly plan on letting today be a little bit more request focused. However, before we do that, we needed to take a look at, yesterday's Inanimate Insanity upload. Because, yes, only 2 weeks after the episode 7 remake of Season 1 released, we have already the remake of episode 8, which dropped, titled 4Seeing the Future. This is the episode where 4S appears. I put 4S because of their release. As a reminder, I don't remember the original episodes. I watched them about like 7 years ago, and probably even 8 years ago. Yeah, 7. So about like 7 years ago, and haven't rewatched them since. So I have the decently different perspective than most of the fandom, which is I don't know the original. How is this episode as just an episode separated from comparison points of the past? Let's find out in episode 8 of Inanimate Insanity Season 1 Remaster, 4Seeing the Future. Let's go. Okay, that is episode 8, Remaster of Inanimate Insanity Season 1. So, we need to talk about the OJ scene in a minute. However, before that, just a general little quick tidbit on the episode. As far as, Season 1 remasters go, I believe that this episode is probably one of the least flawed. The last few episodes, of course, have been flawed with, last episode having that very controversial scene. Episode 6 just having a lot of people not like the way that it was remastered. And a couple of the early ones, one feeling a little boring. But I think that this, in terms of just direct, quality of episode, it's very chill. You know, like this episode is very, very relaxed. In terms of like not as in like it's relaxed because the stakes are technically relatively high, but just like it's relatively well paced. It does everything it needs to do in the amount of time that I'd realistically expect it to do it, right? Which is about 10 minutes, and it's fun. It's got relatively consistent pacing of gags. Characters have a relatively consistent set of screen time, and the lore of the episode. It happens without too much complication. So as far as the remaster episodes, I believe that this is one of just the most smooth, right? That it just kind of happens, right? It gives off very BFDIE vibes in a way. But it's very smooth all throughout, right? So we end up having the eliminated contestant B Salt, B Pepper. Yeah, both Pepper and Salt got a tremendous amount of votes. To be fair, they are the ones who kind of threw the challenge last time, because they ended up kind of doing the whole I'm not eating thing, which a lot of people were wondering why they leaned into it, because apparently in the original it wasn't really a thing, and of course they made it here and got backlash for it. My probable perspective here is that they wanted, if I were to try to see why, it's because doing that would have bolstered the reason why those two had to getting eliminated, right? Because that's one of the things you got to do when remastering the episodes. You can't switch it up in a way that makes the eliminated contestant in the next episode feel not safe, because you want to have the elimination feel justified. So since now that we know that Pepper and Salt get eliminated in this episode, in the last episode you can up the ante in just how much they refuse to do the challenge, right? Meaning that they then look worse than they probably did originally, which means that their elimination feels fairer. Basically, that's that's the idea, right? Because if you're why did we make them do all this extra stuff that wasn't in the original episode to make people feel awkward? Yeah, I believe that would be the reason, right? Because otherwise I don't 100% know, but I think that's how this show is playing its game, right? And it would make a lot of sense, I think, in my opinion, if that's how it worked. Again, they failed, of course, because people got weirded out by it. However, in general, I think it's fair. Anyways, we end up having, of course, MePhone 4S ended up being the main character. MePhone 4S's voice is very fun, so I don't mind MePhone 4S content at all. MePhone 4S is pretty cool. Again, there's not too much to say here. That's kind of the thing about remasters. There's really not that much to say when you don't have a comparison point like I do. You know, like in general, it sounds pretty. It's pretty alright, but like it doesn't necessarily massively coincide with too much other stuff. I think that the animation style also ends up now being pretty clean. We're gonna have Walmart appear like 1 million times. Thank you, Walmart. Boo-boo. Shout out Walmart. I wonder what happened to Walmart. You know what happened to Walmart? Like, can you still order stuff from Walmart? Does Walmart exist in season 4? Is Walmart a fake store MePhone made? Like, where is I wonder what happened to it? You know, like in the object in this world. You know, I need some Walmart in season 4, otherwise I'm gonna be confused. But anyways, okay. So let's talk about the thing that people mentioned. You know, I read the comments a little bit and doing that. Oh yeah, by the way, first of all, I still like how Taco. You can tell how Taco, you know, slowly trying to play the smart game, right? You can tell that their strategies are super smart. He's playing the game where it's like you can tell that Taco is more than they're letting on if you pay attention, right? Because like you'll be able to understand. Like as soon when the Taco review ends up happening, it'll go like wow, you know, it'll be crazy. Because like you're really gonna be able to understand that, like, yeah, Taco was more than you were letting on, but like and there's a proper reason in the way that they wink in this episode and everything. But anyways, they end up going to the past, okay, to the day of even death, and then OJ says this line, okay, which I don't believe in the original episode. So they end up going, sorry, I just got the weirdest sense of deja vu. No, but even that, yeah, because Marshmallow goes like, of course, yeah, but like, I mean, of course, you got deja vu, you went back in time, yes, and OJ ends up having, like, is that saying that it's somewhere else? They feel like they've done this before, except that, yeah, like how we done it before, yeah, maybe, but so. The theory that I think brings it itself up about this scene here with OJ is that, like, basically, the idea is, because, like, one of the mysteries of Inanimate Insanity's current state, right, season 4, is that there is a lack of MePhone, right? MePhone 4 just dipped off, and then we don't know what happened. Right, like MePhone 4 dipped off at 3GS, and then we have not seen him. We don't know what happened to this guy, right? Which kind of makes the theory, like, what is going on? So this theory has started to prop around that maybe what's happening is that the Season 1 remaster is actually MePhone 4 doing that themselves. Like, this isn't just, like, the idea is that this isn't just Inanimate Insanity, but remastered. Like, this isn't just the Season 1, how it's officially gonna be, but, like, this is a remaster in the sense that MePhone 4 is doing this after, Season 4, like, during these Season 4, as, like, remembering or something, like, right? So because, like, we do know that like MePhone did have the power to do that in the same way that they had the power to pause season 2 to go make season 3, right? They did have the power to do that. However, do they have the power to do this? I don't know, because wasn't the deal with MePhone 4 that they lost their, well, hold on, well, because, look, I remember that MePhone 4 had their powers, but if I remember mistaken, right, they had their powers revoked with, like, when the whole alien orb left, right? So that means that theoretically MePhone 4 shouldn't have the same powers, but I don't remember if that applies to literally everything, or if it doesn't, or if it just applied to, like, the recovery, right, or the, like, life. Right, like, I don't know if it just applied to life or if it applied to something else. But I'm not 100%, to be honest. But, like, it's interesting. You know, it's an interesting little theory. Do I think it to be correct? Maybe. I mean, it is something that has been relatively invented before. You know, it's in the same way that like Inanimate Insanity Invitational ends up becoming season 3, right? Because Inanimate Insanity Invitational wasn't officially a season until after a bit of time, right? Until after like near the end where it turned into season 3, right? So like there is theoretically the possibility that this is just massive bait, and eventually it's gonna turn out that this is important. But like I don't think they're gonna go that route. I think it's a bit too bold. I don't wanna lie. It's kind of the thing with II. I mean, like, II, gonna be absolutely for real with you. II has this, like, want to be bold, but a lot of the time, II is not bold. II will not do bold things. You know, I was like, we're gonna have the finale be negative. We're gonna have the finale be right there with Me Phone, like with Caramel Waits or whatever being the finale, right? And then it's like, nope, they were not bold enough to do that. Would it have ended up well? I don't know, but like it would have been interesting, right? But, like it would have been those types of decisions that they don't end up making, right? Or the same way that it's like, you know, they're not bold enough to do something like kill Fan, for example. No, that hell is somehow surviving by 1 millimeter, but somehow will survive, right? Like, I feel like they're not too bold with their decisions, which means that do I really trust them to have this season 1 remaster was actually baiting every single one of you and is actually secretly a super smart Me Phone season 5 or season 4.5, right? And then we had the discovering in season 4, right? Like season 4 people end up going off finding Me Phone, and Me Phone is off like remaking a season 1 in virtual reality. Like probably not, right? Like I don't know, I feel like it'd be weird, but I kind of like, I like the concept, but I don't think that they're gonna do concept like that. Bomb feels like they're starting to stutter a bit more than they were. Like, I know that this was another critique that people point out, that Bomb wasn't stuttering enough. No, Bomb is stuttering, so that's normal. And in general, the voice acting quality, to be fair to them, has been very solid. We also end up having, okay, I don't remember how exactly the Salt and OJ thing went by in the original. However, here we end up having OJ just kind of talk, and then Salt randomly goes, if you want this relationship is going to work, you need to learn to enunciate. So like OJ barely has any idea what's actually happening. Salt just kind of says that out of the blue, which is interesting. I mean, that's like the idea. It does make an interesting theory that Salt is just gonna like try to replace Pepper or whatever. You know, Salt just tries to replace Pepper immediately with OJ, right? And then OJ's like, "What are you on?" But like something on those lines. So that's interesting. Like you see, it's giving us a little crumbs here to imagine. The voting screen's cool. I don't remember how it is in the original, but here it's cool at the very least. So things are definitely happening. Things are roughly interesting, but overall, yeah, that was a very smooth episode of II Season 1, probably the smoothest remaster in a long time. Very little that I have to complain about there. There's some interesting ideas here that are going on, and yeah, you know, we can just jump into the next thing with whatever it is. Let's go. Alright, next up, we are going to be going back over to the Battle For Obama Hamburger. Why? Well, it didn't release a new episode, however, as I was recommended, we should probably just, you know, close off this series. I don't think there's too much else that we really gotta watch. So I'm just gonna watch the other episodes, okay? About the BFOH full series. So we are going to go over, starting off here with Battle For Obama Lantern, okay, which has its own episode 1. It's titled Sheet Ghost Steals From His Grandma. Sure, let's go for it. Bada bing, bada boom, go. Alright, that is episode 1 of Battle For Obama Lantern. So, gonna be honest, this episode 1 is a little interesting because it is a full season. Like, the entire season, it's played out in this one episode, alright? So, like, that's, I was wondering, like, 8 minutes is a while. For the standards of this show. And yeah, it's because it just does everything, right? So, like, I mean, that ends up being, you know, a little bit complicated. However, either way, we end up having our host. What are you called? Pumpkas Wumpkas? Wait, let me check. Pumpkas Wumpkas. Yes, that is your name. Your name is Pumpkas Wumpkas. And you are hosting the show. But so the prize is an Obama lantern. We end up having our contestants. So we end up having textbook come back. We end up having this new character called She Ghost, which you can tell immediately by just how much screen time they get immediately that they are the character that will win, right? Like you can tell what the interests are. Based on how much screen time did you get, right? Like this goes for a lot of improv stuff. Like you can tell how much the people are interested in a certain character, a certain aspect of it, but how much of it there is, right? So you can tell like how much like we found the She Ghost and their voice and their actions funny entirely by just how much they're just constantly a presence throughout the episode, right? Like it's very, very obvious, but yeah, so they end up being the character. Then the character wins. Sorry. Then we end up having Mr. SushiMan, the fella who ended up who was at like they hosted a they hosted a restaurant. Yes, they owned a restaurant that showed up in Battle For Obama Hamburger. We have Mr. Stackers who is here, and then we have a character who's Lollipop, who is all jolly. They're all lolly and jolly and everything happiness. So true, honestly, bars. Then we have ourselves the intro, which as it goes with this show, it's like tremendously long. It's a 40-second long intro to introduce like 4 people. Like what? Yeah, the first challenge is a costume contest. So, what are people's costumes gonna be? Well, the first costume is the She Ghost ends up dressing up as the Grimace Shake. Sure, I think that counts. What do I think of that costume? That costume is pretty alright. That costume idea, I mean, for what the She Ghost looks like, I think it's fair enough. So yeah, you know, that could be safe. I mean, I don't know if it's the scariest costume of all time, but of course, the other fella, the host is super scared. Then we have Mr. SushiMan. Doesn't find a costume and then gets declared safe because they themselves are horrifying on their own, which is a nice little roast. Then we end up. Oh, by the way, hold on. Completely random detail. There's like a random ghost decoration in the background, and I'd like to point out that the facial expression that these little ghost thingies in the background have are very good. I like this background detail. Lollipop end up being a vampire spider, so good job. That was a scary costume. I mean, I don't know if it's a scary costume, it's just a good costume. It's a very technically impressive costume. And then we end up having Textbooks, who is dressed up as Book from BFDI. I mean, like, they're already kind of screwed by the factoid that they don't look very good on their own, because, you know, they've been, like, beat up, like, 4 million times. But, yeah, now they look even worse, so it's not amazing. And then Mr. Stackers at the end of it tries to dress up a sour cream and onion flavor. That's apparently pretty bad. Not gonna lie, I used to believe this rhetoric, right? But I hadn't eaten it. I just thought, like, yo, sour cream and onion sounds bad. But then I actually ate sour cream and onions Pringles, and I'm not gonna lie, it's actually pretty good. I'm not gonna listen to this agenda out here. Sometimes, you know, it was one of those don't knock it till you try it moments, you know? What's that, onion? But then I tried it and I was like, yo, this is kind of good. No, it's kind of different than your average chips, who are like just paprika and they taste the same. So like, it ended up being a little bit innovative. But anyways, Mr. Stackers just isn't scary in principle, so yeah, they end up getting eliminated. Second one is apple bobbing, so you have to go in the water and fetch out an apple. However, Textbooks gets Mr. SushiMan to drown in the barrel. Because okay, that's interesting, but he's done them in there. We get a nice little like 5-second long like scene of just which is a thing that of course happens a lot with this, right? Like at the end of the day, the pacing of this debate is forcibly slower, right? Because every scene ends up taking a little bit longer because it's improv. But so that's why like 8 minutes happen when like do 8 minutes of content actually happen? Maybe like 6. Right? So Yeah, the third challenge is to eat a lollipop. Apparently super easy challenge. However, I mean, like, yeah, obviously Textbooks just proceeds to eat lollipop, who is very defenseless. But yeah, no, to be fair, even Pumpkus, Wumpkus, or whatever you're called, ends up realizing, yeah, no, that was a pretty stupid idea from me here. Which, yes, can confirm. Eat a lollipop. Yes, you're gonna eat lollipop, like, duh. And then the last challenge between the last two, which is the sheet ghost and the textbook, end up being to go trick or treating. Now you'll notice, like, let's do some mathematics here, okay? So sheet ghost appears. Hold on. Challenge starts 5:20. So okay, 5:20 to roughly 6:20. They're doing that. So 1 minute, okay? Then a textbook shows up, is on screen for 10 seconds. Okay, then we end up having the sheet ghost proceed to be the only character we get to take a look at for the next 2 minutes. No, for the next minute and a half. So that's 1 minute plus 1 minute and a half. So that's 2:30. Okay, 2 minutes 30. All right. Okay, we got that. And then afterwards, at the very end, we end up having until they get to they go to the back rooms. Textbook shows up for another 10 seconds. So that means that overall, in this final challenge, okay, we got to see 2 minutes and a half of Sheet Ghost doing the challenge, and we got to see 20 seconds of Textbooks doing the challenge. I don't know about you. But I'm sensing that there might be, I'm smelling it, there might be a little bit of bias with the screen time that the characters are getting, don't you think? Yes, this is like it is painfully obvious. But yeah, eventually Textbooks ends up clipping into the back room somehow. And then that means that they can't successfully deliver the candy, which means that the Obama Lantern ends up going to the Sheet Ghost, which ends up having won the Obama Lantern. Good job on having won the Obama the Obama Lantern. So overall, what I think of this, I guess, season is that it was alright. I mean, like, it was fun. However, it was pretty clear what the preferences were. It was relatively slower paced, right? Even some Obama Hamburger episodes are kind of edited faster. This is kind of edited, allowing more of the goofiness to play, which, I mean, again, sometimes it's fun. However, in certain situations, also makes it a little bit slow. And yeah, overall, that is what I think of it. But it is time to jump right into the next plan of action, because the next plan of action is episode 2 of Battle for Obama Lantern. Somehow, is that the only episode? How many are there? Oh, there's like a season 2. Okay. But anyway, I don't. How does this work? the functionality spin-offs is weird. Like, you can tell that there's been so much random stuff that has happened. Where, like, the way that these episodes are structured are kind of weird. Episode 2, somehow, is titled SushiMan's Revenge. Alright, let's go. Hold on, cutting myself off really quick, just to say that I'm taking a look at the stuff from the BFOH full series plus spin-offs, okay? And I'm skipping non-episode stuff like intros, because they should theoretically appear in the episodes themselves, okay? So, we're doing that because I know that there's non-canonical spin-offs, there's remasters and everything that confuse it. Like, I'm telling you, the situation that this series has eventually gotten itself in is that what the fuck? Right, it has gotten into an absolute mess. So we're just gonna do that. So it's the Obama Lantern, it's sequels, and then Better Than Burger. Okay, we're gonna do that. Just so you have an understanding. You'll be able to see it in the timestamps, but like that's kind of what I'm doing. Okay. All right. Now we can. Now let's jump into episode 2. Okay. Let's go. Go. Okay. I just had the realization while I was watching this that this is what was considered canonical. Like, this is canonical stuff. Like, we've had stuff that apparently there's been stuff that was decided that was deemed not canonical, non-canonical. But, like, going to the back rooms, the text was going to the back rooms, and Mr. SushiMan drowning, and then undrowning, only to then drown again. This is canonical. This has to happen for the timeline to move forward. But yeah, Mr. Sushi Man ends up dipping off because they apparently didn't drown somehow. We don't have an explanation, but to be fair, why would I expect one? And they want revenge. Ooh. So they want to drown them instead. So they can't drown the ghost because the ghost is a ghost. Even though I'm not gonna lie, I mean, like there's a little bit of counter logic here that's like, yo, how would the ghost can't drown, but it can breathe underwater because they had to grab the apple some way. So like I'm sensing a little bit of like, yo, what is up, you know? Like, can you or can you not? You know, I'm a little bit unsure here, but we also have textbooks in the backrooms that are, of course, just trying to survive. I'm curious if the backrooms have monsters, because, of course, usually in the backrooms there are monsters, at least in the modern depictions of it, right? So, like, so textbooks is currently just kind of surviving around the hallways with the candy that they have from the candy that they piled up. However, in general, they ended up, like, you know, just surviving, you know. There's not too much, like, they're exploring but not doing too much else. Do they know about the back rooms? Like, because the host knows they're in the back rooms. Like, other people know that they're in the back rooms. They can't, I don't think they can go to the back rooms themselves, but then how do they know that you ended up in the back rooms? But then it's, again, it's one of those things, it's just Joshua, so it doesn't matter. But at the same time, it's so interesting to know, because, like, lore, right? I mean, like, if we're adding lore, if this is canonical, I need to ask the canonical question. This is canon to object cache. But yeah, we end up having eventually, like, Mr. Sushi Man gonna try to drown Pumpkus Wumpkus. However, unfortunately for Mr. Sushi Man, they are quite bad and end up drowning again. Then Cheez-It that has been eaten and is also purple ends up being like, ooh, the Grimace Shake is upon us. And then it's, I mean, yeah. Yes, there are Grimace Shakes in the world. That is true. Like, you don't have to drink it. Like, you know, like, you know, like it's there. Like, we dressed up as it for last challenge. You know, like, yeah, correct. I think you went to the wrong year. Cause, like, we know about Grimace Shakes over here. This is knowledge. Yeah. You know, like, it's some year past 3. All right, good to know. Like, the Grimace Shake is among us. Like, okay, sure. I don't know, but yeah, don't time travel to tell people in the year 4 about Grimace Shakes. Chat, they already know. Okay, like, if you're ever trying it, just so you know, everybody knows about the Grimace Shake. And yeah, overall, that's an episode. I mean, like, in general, with this episode and with a bunch of episodes from like Obama Hamburger, it suffers a little bit from, like, this doesn't feel like it's that relevant to anything. However, it's just it's the kind of stuff that happens when you improv, right? You don't know how important you're gonna make the episode. Sometimes there's just a global degree of taking it kind of safe, and sometimes you want to be bold, right? So that means that, like, whatever plot line sort of develops on its own ends up working, and sometimes that ends up being super important. Sometimes that ends up being super meh, right? Like, it kind of ends up happening, you know. It's the way that it goes. All right, it's time for okay, okay, how about, look, next up is a Battle for Obama Lantern again. However, the episodes aren't listed here, just the season 2 all episodes, okay? I would usually try to fetch out the individual episodes, however, this entire compilation is 4 minutes long, so I might as well just take a look at it, okay? Battle for Obama Lantern again, season 2 all episodes is what I'm going to talk about. Anyway, I mean, with the way that episode 1 went, you can tell that they're already like that, so, alright, let's go for it. Good luck to me. Alright, that is season 2 of Battle for Obama Lantern, also known as Battle for Obama Lantern again, all episodes, which is 1 episode. But yes, we have ourselves Pumpkins Wumpkins back again for round 2. You can tell because the background is different. The backgrounds are actually quite pretty. I'm gonna point out that, like, there's a surprising amount of, like, good design work that has gone into this specifically. Like, these backgrounds are solid on both sides, both on the host side and on the contested side. I'm a big fan of the blue trees, and I believe that, like, while the intros, I'm gonna be for real, aren't that different to each other, I do believe that this is one of the best stylized ones, in just, like, in general, the franchise, of the Obama Hamburger, which, again, is really funny, because this is an intro for introducing characters that have that they literally, I'm telling you, Pumpkin, I think, might be longer, spends more time in this intro than in the episode. They have more screen time in the intro than in the episodes. I'm gonna be absolutely for real with you, but, like, you know, sometimes it's just the way that it goes, right? So yeah, we end up having the first challenge, which is the eat candy, and then we end up having the spook juice, which ends up being our resident like terrible person of the group, and ends up eating the lollipop again. Lollipop, how that lollipop, I understand that your joy and happiness and ketamine or whatever, but, like, you gotta get more brain cells though, you know? Like, come on, you already got eaten. Why are you getting eaten a second time? You need to stand up for yourself. Then the host ends up going crazy, like, yo, can we not kill each other for the challenges? Nope, apparently not, can't do that. Because here's the deal, you can't reward it, you know? You see, this is what happens to the host. The host is like, please don't murder, and then murdering wins. So, like, of course, people are gonna do it. Right, like, you gotta put in stance rules. Like, you didn't meet it, you eliminated. Right, so that encourages people to not do it. If we don't have an enforcement of the rules, it's not gonna work, you know? Like, I understand that. It's like, oh yeah, but Lollipop lost, so they have to get eliminated. No, eliminate them both. B and Dick, come on, Pumpkins one, cause insert your authority. Come on, bro. What is this? Oh, Battle for Obama Hamburger? No, this is Battle for Obama Lantern. We need to insert our authority into the show and get some rules that these fellas will listen to. Come on, we need a revolution. I'm going instead. The second challenge ends up to not get scared, and Love Potion ends up getting scared, so they end up getting crushed. Which is interesting. I'm honestly surprised we didn't do the love potion thing of, oh, the love potion is there, somebody accidentally drops into the love potion and falls in love with the next person they see. I'm surprised we didn't do that. But anyway, some ancient rune fella ends up asking for the spook fella to hold a whatever that is, like an ancient rock from the year 2, because, you know, like, we're probably in the year 4 right now. So they end up giving it to the love potion to a hold, and then finally the last challenge is the pumpkin carving. Best pumpkin carving wins. We proceed to have Spook Juice carve the pumpkin, which, I mean, yeah, it's interesting. However, I am just gonna point out that, like, while I understand it, technically, wouldn't the pumpkin be carved already? Because, I mean, no, right? Because they just have eyes, but they're not carved eyes. It's just they just have eyes, right? Or something, which is interesting. Like, it's different because like Pumpkus Wumpkus, you see, they look like the carving is their body. However, with Pumpkin, it just looks like they have eyes. Like, you see, it's kind of different. Like, it's kind of different. But either way, yeah. What have you in this season? This season's alright. It looks surprisingly pretty. It does a lot of similar jokes as season 1. However, hey, you know what this is? Funnier the second time, right? And I did enjoy it. I found the gags here to be, like, while maybe predictable, they were still pretty good. And in general, the pacing was a little bit more consistent for challenge to challenge rather than having, you know, like the additional bias. So, you know what? Yeah, enjoyed that. Okay, time for Battle for Obama Lantern Triple Down, which only has 1 episode. It is titled Shattering Confessions. Okay, we're gonna jump into it. Here we go. Alright, that is episode 1, and maybe the only episode. I mean, like, there's not another one, at least as far as I'm aware. Which is interesting, because, like, there should be, right? Like, usually the episode is the full season, but, I mean, it's not, like, nope, not here. So, like, I'm not exactly sure how this works. I mean, I can check. Hold on, wait, give me a minute. I'm just convinced the other ones are all full season, but this one isn't a full season. This was 2 minutes, so wait a minute. Hold on, give me a second. 2 months ago, Episode 1. No, nope. There's nothing. Nothing else is here. It's just that. Okay. That's interesting. Well, Bromkus Galumpus ends up having, well, of course, hosting another season. And we have our contestant Love Potion's back, but this time he is here, but he is actually, trying to love. Lollipop is back, because of course Lollipop is back with the classic one-liner. And then we end up having Pumpkin that comes back because they had like 1 second of screen time the other time. Then the new people are a pumpkin spiked latte who is literally spiked. Okay, that's fun. We end up having a tainted syringe who wants to eat people. Surprisingly enough, they're not quite the person who ends up eating people. But nearly. And then we end up having CD Vance, who had a lollipop and ate the lollipop. And then when they end up, having a couple of initial interactions, however, we end up having Love Potion try to rizz up the fellas, but apparently, we end up having Spike Latte is not a fan, CD Vance is a guy, and Lollipop is 12. By the way, Lollipop is 12. This is unspeakable trauma. Lollipop is 12, addicted to ketamine, and is bro. What? And it got eaten like 7 times. This poor soul. I need a Lollipop spin-off, okay? Can we have the Lollipop spin-off? I need to... Interesting things happen in this character's life, okay? Then, while they do that, we end up having CD Vance or demand for a lollipop, so then they end up eating the lollipop, because, again, Lollipop has very bad self-defense mechanisms. And then we end up having the first challenge is to make a Halloween prop. They make the challenge kind of stops at the pause, right? Because the pumpkin spice lattes end up being like, all right, CD, get out of here. Then getting eaten away, and then we have a to be continued, and that ends up, not happening because there's that's it. That's it, nothing else. Apparently, this weekend, this one right here, trust me, 2 days. It's released next week. No, it's like, bro, I don't know. I no idea what happened to this series. This series is banished from the Shadow Realm. But okay, I mean, if it's gone, it's gone. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's alright. But of course, I need to see the challenges, so can't judge it too much. Alright, next up, it is time for Better Than the Burger, which has more episodes, a bit more serious. We're gonna go with episode 1 of Better Than the Burger, which is titled Deduce the Dirt. Let's go. Okay, that is episode 1 of Better Than the Burger. So, okay, here's a thing that I want to point out about these. Is that, like, you can really feel the formula in full effect in this. Because, like, you can see in something like this how similar the formula of this video is compared to the formula of Triple Down, for example. Like, you see how similar those two are, right? Like, random chit chatter. Host arrives, says yo was good. I'm gonna host competition. Introduce yourselves. The characters introduce themselves. Then it's I'll give you a minute to chatter. They give a chatter and nearly murder each other. Then we have a challenge. The first people to do the challenge are safe, and then the rest is up for it. Right, like, this is really, like, at the end of the day, the formula ends up being a little bit similar, and it is probably partially fault of the creation process being fast, quote unquote, right, being so speedy, because that means that there usually isn't as much time to deliberate variants, right? It's a little bit more complicated to make something different, make something out there, right? When, like, it has to be made in this section of time that is there with the people right around and everything. So it ends up being, a bit complex. However, like, it's so interesting to see how this manages to survive. Anyways, we have ourselves the fellas going over to the waterfall, and as they go over to the waterfall, a couple of random people are showing up, like Snow Globe, that's apparently a super beefed up guy who's better than Super Drain. You have a Lobster who's British, but it's not a great British accent, to be 100% honest. And then the third random person to appear is the host, Glomwom, who's apparently the sister of Glombus, whatever you were called. Glombus Rhombus? I don't know. The host of Battle for Obama Hamburger. This fella has a great design. I actually like this design. But yeah, she's hosting the competition this time, and their prize is better than the Obama Hamburger, because the prize is that you can commit any crime you want and you will get pardoned. That's cool. Okay, well, here's the deal about a prize like that. These are kind of it's a really interesting moral dilemma of a prize, because it's one of those things where it's like, theoretically, as a good person, you shouldn't want that, right? Like, you should be, technically, a good person should be capable of, like, being like, no, I don't want to do murder because it's bad, rather than being like, I don't want to do murder because it's illegal, right? I kind of want to, like, one of those things, right? Or, like, I don't want to rob a bank because it's wrong to do, instead of just kind of being pardoned. Also, by the way, what do you mean being pardoned? Like, if they can't, like, for example, if you try to rob a bank, okay, and they just caught you, like, would you be pardoned as in, like, they let you rob the bank? Or would it just be like, yo, your attempt is okay, you gave it your best and you it's kind of an interesting little I don't know what I'm chatting about. But it's kind of interesting. I feel like in this road, the prize doesn't apply that much, because, I mean, like, we just saw the other series. Like, the amount of cannibalism that was done on poor Lollipop, like, we need to, I feel like we kind of do crimes anyways. There's not that much of a society going on here. We're all in grasses, but we're in patches of grass. But yeah, we end up having our contestant, including a makeup palette as well. And then the first challenge is to eat dirt, and then to find out where the dirt arrived from. Lawsuit document managed to find out, because they apparently ate dirt before. Then we also ended up having the makeup palette find out that it was football fan, and then the last person is a lobster who eats it and finds out what it is. Nobody gets it wrong. Everybody who ate the dirt and knew where the dirt came from. So that means that everybody who did it were professionals at the craft. Mr. Stackers apparently is also supposed to be in this season. However, they were off doing whatever. So they get excused, they get pardoned, may I even say, from this challenge. So, yeah, that is cool. And then Glomwom, they're putting the other fellas up for elimination. We didn't see Snow Globe or the Mr. whatever fancy head try the challenge. However, to be fair, the fancy fella would not want to eat dirt. Right, that makes sense. 7-Eleven worker is like too professional to eat dirt. Super Drain was incapacitated because they got punched by Snow Globe, and then Snow Globe, I don't know. They might they might think it's bad for their health. They got very health conscious out here. We need to treat things correctly, right? And you treat the body right, so they probably don't do it. I mean, my prediction for the elimination here will probably be somebody like Snow Globe, right? Because they punched the Super Drain, which is the goated character. So that's my prediction. But we'll have to see, because it's time for the next episode, which is episode 2, which is titled "I animated this in 4 hours somehow." See the problem? All right, let's go. Alright, that is episode 2 of Better Than the Burger. So, we have here an episode that was somehow animated in 4 hours. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Props are due. That is pretty impressive. But, we end up having Sewer Drain wake up because they apparently need acid. We end up doing the gag of hydrofluoric acid. Didn't we do this guy like 3 times in Battle for Obama Hamburger? Yo, okay, look, I know... I think we like this gag. I got it. I understood. Yes. Yeah, understood it. Yep, we got it. So then, yeah, Sewer Drain fucking dies. They proceed to get reminded after an intro. You know what's another thing that I feel like we like making intros here. Have we noticed that there's like an intro swap like constant? Are we making shows just to make intros? I don't know. It's very interesting intros as well, because like The intro, okay, like, because the different about these intros is that, like, the LiminalLatte intros, they end up, they have a nearly complete disregard for, like, the general rule of thumb of, like, an intro song should generally be a high energy piece. Tends to be a bit tends to be a bit more electronically focused, right? But in general, just kind of an upbeat piece, right? Because that way it's more up tempo and you can sync the characters appearing better. But like this, alongside like the one from like from like Battle For Obama Hamburger, like this is just such a slow song. Like you'll not like it just feels weird. These intros feel weird because like they're not synced as well because they just don't have anything to sing to because the song is slow. Yeah. Anyway, we proceed to jump ourselves right into the elimination. Where, by the way, how is the elimination time theme longer than the intro? How long is this? It's a 25-second long. 25 for the elimination time. In most shows, it's like 3. The decisions that get made for these are certainly interesting, I have to admit. But either way, we end up going over to the elimination, where the eliminated contestant ends up being none other than Mr. Coconut, which, I mean, fair enough. I was expecting Snuggle for being mildly mean, but it turns out to be Mr. Coconut because they don't do anything. They immediately arrive as this kind of arrogant figure and then proceed to, like, you know, just in general be not participate. So they don't participate, they already look mean, so in general it's just an all-rounder negative. Then we end up having a Sigma Karen. Okay, which ends up joining the show. This got leaked by the intro like a minute earlier, but yeah, they end up showing up and they end up joining the show despite being a little bit mysterious, and they end up having the challenge, which is to drink gasoline. Interesting. Bro, I'm sorry, are you weird or not? I thought in the last episode you were like, this is a little bit weird how y'all have been eating dirt, and here's I drink gasoline. I'm sorry, do you want them to be weirdos or not? But either way, I mean, I guess they do want them to be weirdos because the challenge was to eat the dirt. So okay, you know what, yes, the challenge is to be a weirdo. But yeah, Mr. Stack is no longer excused because they were apparently taking a slower bus that went through more stops. Anyways, apparently in the land of British, you drink gasoline all the time, so Lobster drinks it and is safe. Then we end up having 7-Eleven, who apparently gets paid in gasoline. Okay, and then they end up drinking it. Then the TAS return document ends up not having any gasoline until the gas man arrives. Gas man! That's the superhero sound. And then you end up having it. I like how in the last minute there's like 2 scenes in the episode. Give me a break. I don't want to draw the 85th disappointed glom face. This episode is 6 minutes long and I animated it in 4 hours. This is not an excuse. Oh, but I animated the episode in 4 hours. Yes. Why? You can take more time. It's okay. It was not a requirement for it to be in 4 hours. You could do 4 hour, 10 minutes. This is not a valid excuse. Like, come on, bro. Okay, sure. Also, there aren't even that. Glowmom isn't even that disappointed in this episode. When is Glowmom disappointed in this episode? I don't know. Like, majority of that was in the other episode. Like, I don't know, reuse one of them from the other episode. Right? Well, either way, we end up having the last person, after they be like, give me gasoline, ends up coming in with makeup palette and manages to be safe. Which means that the people that are up for Elim is pretty much the same as the other time, because Snow Globe and Sewer Drain are again up for Elim, even though Sewer Drain was awake this time. And then there's Sigma Karen and Mr. Stackers. I would probably eliminate Mr. Stackers because it doesn't seem like they're arriving. It seems like the gag is just going to be that they never arrive for a different contrived reason, right? So, I would probably rather suggest that they don't join. But yeah, that ends up being the episode. Is it as formulaic as the previous one? It's mildly. I mean, it's not as formulaic because it's not an episode one, right? Because like the episode one ends up being quite formulaic. But even then, here is like mildly still. But it's a bit improved, I would say. Yeah, it follows the generic format of a challenge, right? And the format of the intros, right? Like, cause this spin-off in the way that cause Battle for Obama Lantern is not as much of a similarly styled spin-off. This is very similarly styled spin-off, so you can tell in the way that the stuff ends up being really similar. Like the elimination time or Elimination ends up being like. At the end of the day, really similar with like a DJ Khaled dancing. It's like a different DJ Khaled dancing, but it's still a DJ Khaled dancing, right? And then the intro being with this kind of more relaxed song, right? That's like super chill, and then like in general. These are things that this show ends up having to share because it's a much similar vibed one. When instead, like, for example, Battle for Obama Lantern nearly has no correlation to the Obama Hamburger other than the contestants in it, you know? Also, how did a textbook get out of the back rooms? I don't think this is lore that we ever found out about. I mean, like, there was a video that was like, what happened, but it didn't ever show them getting out. It just showed them being miserable for like 10 seconds. I don't know what happened. What happened? We have to find out. We have to discover this. But anyway, I'm talking about a different show. I'm getting way off. I'm getting way distracted. It is time to jump into the next episode number 3, which is titled "Buying Beans from Trustworthy Sources." I'm sure. Okay, let's go. Whoa, 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 whoa. Alright, that is episode 3 of Better Than the Burger. Alright, so we have ourselves an initial conversation where the anti-alliance end up deciding that their new biggest enemy is gonna be Snow Globe, because they're just so good at challenges, you know, they're just such a threat. They just do so much in these episodes. It's surely amazing, it's surely incredible. I'm doing a sarcasm. So yeah, they switch it from Mr. Sackers, which was super dangerous contestant, did a lot, heading over into Snow Globe, which is super dangerous contestant, just does a lot. But yeah, in the elimination, both them and the Sewer Drain end up being saved with the same amount of votes, which is none. No, well, 2. In the meantime, like, which is not a lot compared to everybody else. But in the meantime, we end up having Sigma Karen and Mrs. Stackers that were debating, and Mrs. Stackers ended up getting eliminated with 8 votes compared to Sigma Karen 7. Sigma Karen nearly managed to get herself eliminated immediately. By the way, I don't know what that is. Do you want to point that out? Because I know, like, cause these things tend to be objects, but, like, Sigma Karen, I don't know what I'm looking at. Just gotta be 100% for it. It's like a button. I don't, like, what is it? It's like an alarm button. It's like I feel like you can press it and then it'll go like meow. I don't know what it is, to be 100% honest, but I'm sure that there's something. And anyways, we end up having the challenge, which ends up being none other than getting tickets. So yes, you have to get tickets to DJ Cooler's concert. Because, you know, DJ Cooler's about to perform. DJ Cooler's about to perform his hit song, Elimination. Head on, apply directly to the forehead. Head on, apply directly to the forehead. Head on, apply directly to the forehead. It is one of the greatest pieces of music ever composed. And, you know, the challenge is to get a ticket. So the fellas go over and get some tickets. Somehow, you know, there just happen to be 2 tickets right there, and the makeup palette ends up finding them, but never submitting them, which is debatable. It's a debatable degree of why didn't you do that. But yeah, 7-Eleven apparently knows their ex-wife's cousin or whatever. So it's like, you know, the connection is there, because they shop to 7-Eleven, so they can ask. Sure, fair enough. And in the meantime, Lobster can go break into Bro's house because he knows where DJ Cooler lives. Because there will be tickets to his own concert there. I'm sensing some flaws in the logic. But I felt like, yeah, contestants don't usually have tickets to their own concerts. I kind of noticed that. That's like a thing, I think. But either way, we end up having Snow Globe ends up just kind of going, yo, if I go to the gym, maybe, just maybe, he'll be there. So okay, man, interesting idea, I guess. We end up having Sigma Karen doing a protest because this is not the music. Sigma Karen only listens to 90s hits, alright? This new music from DJ Cooler, it's not good, you know? Back in the day, we never head-on apply directly to the forehead. You know, it was different. So, fair enough. And then we end up having Sewer Drain and lawsuit document end up going into the shady alleyway where, well, they don't get sold tickets, but they get sold nautical beans, which is apparently illegal. Maybe I don't know why it's illegal, but yeah, they can go underwater, which is pretty illegal. I'd like to point out, by the way, in the background of this graffiti, like the graffiti in the background, I see Battle to be able to exist back there. You think I didn't see that? You think I didn't notice that? It's right there. Look at the television. Look at the monitor. Sorry. Look at it. But yes, they end up buying the nautical beans, and they come back with nautical beans, and well, not too much else. But either way, eventually they managed to get the tickets from Makeup Palette, and they managed to submit it after just being so annoying that Makeup Palette gives it to them. And then finally, 7-Eleven worker managed to get it. They got a parking ticket, but then they eventually got an actual ticket. Question: why did Glomwom, you needed just one ticket. Like, I don't know, like, why did you need 3, you know? Like, I feel like it's, there was not the necessity to, like, you don't count for 3 people. Are you giving it 2 people? Well, who else is going to see this show? Well, you know, who else is going to see the show? Head on, apply directly to the fort. Well, I don't know. Who should get out here? I mean, it's probably okay. Snow Globe is into the challenge, but of course Sigma Karen is kind of like annoying. So I would probably eliminate Sigma Karen. I think it's probably time to go. Even though in terms of performance, I mean, absolutely, Makeup Palette deserves to go in the sense that she had it right there and didn't give the tickets when they stumbled upon them, and then also gave both of them away, right? Which was entirely her choice. It didn't get stolen. We just asked her for it, and she was like, "Sure," right? So it's like, "Bruh," like, come, like bruh moment, like, come, like, what are you doing? So you absolutely should get out for that. But in general, I'm not like 100% sure. Wait, what is this post-credit scene? I don't remember it. No, there isn't a post-credit scene. No, I don't. Why did I think there was a post-credit scene? Oh yeah, because Luigi. Okay, how about this? All right, let's make a new rule set. Whenever I start chatting bullshit, all right, and I need a reset, you know, proper like restart from this moment on. Everything I said doesn't count, and then we just say new things from then on out. I'll just randomly pop in and say the word Luigi, all right, because the word Luigi is a great word. It resets everything, you know. It's nice. Like, as soon as you hear it, you lock back in. You go like, oh, okay, yeah, Luigi. So yeah, we'll play under those rules for future object catcher. Okay, all right, let's go. Episode 4 and the last episode. The last episode of the Battle For Obama Hamburger universe is episode 4, Better Than the Burger, which is titled Anniversary of Apology. Whatever the hell that means. That sounds like the name of a cool, like, short film. Alright, let's go. Alright, so that is episode 4 of Better Than the Burger, and what is currently the latest episode of Better Than the Burger. So we have we start off here with Sigma Karen, who's for some reason just like extremely drunk. I don't know why, but they're like weird, and they decide to go hit on lobster for some reason. I don't know. They must have like ate a nautical bean or something, right? So they end up going over and I'll protect you, Pookie. And Lobster now suddenly wants to get eliminated, and then it's transition into the eliminating time. Head up, apply directly to the forehead. Head on, apply directly to the forehead. Head on, apply directly to the forehead. And then as we do that, we end up having the contestants that are safe be makeup palette. I like to. The moment when the makeup palette when the sensor beep turned just into a microwave, like, bro, like it was a microwave all along. Doop, doop, doop. They just open it. Like, I don't know if it's a microwave, because, like, hold on, what even is it? It's like select payment type. Is it like It's like a vending machine? Is there a vending machine that makes that amount of noise? I feel like, I don't know, but. I don't know of one, but I don't know. I'm not in the lands, so I don't know what's going on over there. But all right, we end up having the eliminated contestant be both Sam McCann and Lobster. They both get eliminated together. Isn't this just so unbelievably romantic? Well, they get eliminated together because apparently we are behind the schedule. This episode released 9 months ago, and there isn't another one. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like the schedule's out of whack by a while already. Like, I feel like it's not very salvageable here. It is the current schedule. It's looking kind of over for that. But either way, they end up getting both eliminated. Hit the microphone. Bio, and now we end up having the challenge. So the challenge for this episode is to apologize to somebody you are on bad terms with, and get an accepted, like, have the apology be accepted by the person, right? So, okay, that's interesting. We end up having a 7-Eleven worker who is not willing to apologize to Mr. Cole. So they end up just agreeing that they're going to be up for elimination. They take the hit and hope for the best. In the meantime, we end up having, Makeup Palette, which, by the way, like, wasn't going to apologize to anybody. Let's be absolutely for real. Was Pain Palette going to apologize to somebody? Think deep within yourself. Was it going to happen? No, it wasn't going to happen. So Sewer Drain knocks him unconscious, which already makes it, it bolsters what already wasn't going to happen. Snow Globe ends up apologizing to themselves, right? Because they're not on bad terms with anybody. Even though that isn't the point, that Snow Globe, isn't the reason we're doing this challenge that Snow Globe and, Lawsuit are, always, and Sewer Drain are constantly on bad terms, I thought that was the idea. I thought that they were both just, on bad terms. Was that not what we were doing this whole time? Right? That they're, the mortal enemy? That they're, the rival? The target? Right? I thought that was the idea. But then it's Sewer Drain just says that the only person they're on bad terms with is Fire Hydrant and not Snow Globe. Snow Globe doesn't say they're on bad terms with Sewer Drain. Okay, but I understand that Snow Globe was already safe. Well, yeah, but Snow Globe can still be the receiver of the challenge, right? You can still go over to Snow Globe, who's safe, and get the apology from them. Maybe, I guess there's, of course, one of those classic situations where it's I'm going to intentionally reject your apology because I don't want you to be safe, right? And then there's that type of deal. But, in general, it still should have arrived as an option, right? But yeah, Lost, they end up apologizing to Fire Hydrant. This takes literally 3 minutes because they end up trying to say it. They go to the bathroom, vomit, come back, say it again. But then thankfully at least Fire Hydrant just immediately accepts the apology, which that is thank God that was that easy, because otherwise it would not have been that easy. But yeah, we get to see Timothy, and then we ended up having the other person, the lawsuit document, apparently just not on bad terms with anybody. No. And either way, they end up not being capable of finding anybody they're on bad terms with. Why? Because they are in the middle of a forest, which is there's not a lot of things there, so they can't be on bad terms with anybody to eventually be on good terms with them, which makes sense. I mean, then there arrives the question, how would sewer drain have gone to fire extinguisher? But I think they had like that teleporty thing, right, that lawsuit document doesn't have. A lawsuit document could have still probably done something with like the host, could have like been mean to the host or whatever. Or, I'm surprised that they didn't like, or like, with 7-Eleven worker, which was there, by the way. Yeah, the 7-Eleven worker didn't leave. Right? You could get on bad terms with 7-Eleven worker, which to be 100% honest, you probably would be on bad terms, right? Those two are troublemakers, and 7-Eleven workers, like, not that much of a troublemaker. So like overall, I feel like there wasn't enough commitment to the idea. I feel like there should have been a bit more believing to be done there, because like, I think a lawsuit document could have absolutely pulled it off, but they didn't pull it off, So yeah, anniversary of apology, and that is the episode, and that is the end of the Battle for Obama Hamburger spin-offs. What did I think of the Battle for Obama Hamburger spin-offs? They're alright. Like, in general, I believe that they do, like, really help to kind of settle in the formula. Because the thing about Battle for Obama Hamburger is it was kind of establishing its own formula. But you can tell when you start a season with this formula how it follows itself along, right? Like, you can really tell it kind of does this and then that, right? Which makes it kind of relatively easily digestible content, but like, it's not really that unique, at the end of the day, right? Like, it's not I wasn't, like, to be 100% honest, I didn't watch any of these episodes of like Better Than the Burger thinking, damn, this is different. I didn't think of it like they're kind of the same. However, in general, it's kind of little fun vibes, and yeah, the main thing, I just think that the main thing for Battle for Obama Hamburger should do, is definitely just try to figure out a way to structure itself differently, for any other future project that it does, right? Because we've done it, we figured out, we've got our concept of how the episodes get made and everything, but like, we've done that a bit. We've done a season and like 2 half seasons worth of a show, and then remasters and whatever, right? So like, we get it on that aspect. So now we need to try to find a way to take that idea, like take that creation style, and then we gotta like implement it into something else. We gotta kind of implement new ideas onto it, new structure, right? And you can see it being done partially with like, the latest Battle for Obama Hamburger episodes, the one with like the orange backstory or whatever, right? However, in general, especially since there isn't an official season 2, right, we've not been capable of seeing new elements being added into a competition. So like, I think that for it to become more interesting as it was at the beginning, it needs to start to try to switch up its formula a little bit, because otherwise I think it's going to become samey. I mean, like, it's been going on for years and not changed too much. So like, in general, Battle for Obama Hamburger needs a little bit of a freshen up. Next thing, whatever it is. Alright, next up we're going to be talking about TBAOS, which I'm not exactly sure what it stands for. However, it is a show created by vkiraioldchannel, the vkiraioldchannel, I'm not 100% sure. I'm just going to say VK for now, who is a creator with 389 subs after their work on BFOL, which is a show that we took a look at a while back. They recommended me their own show, so I think it's time to go and take a look at it, starting with episode 1, which is titled The Race of Terrible Animation. There's 5 total episodes in this series so far. Let's go with episode 1. Here we go. Alright, that is The Race of Terrible Animation, and I mean, yeah, correct, the animation is not very good. I must admit that I have seen better animations out there in the world. Is that the name of the show? Terrible, like TB, terrible... like Terrible A Animation OS Object Show? That's not how acronyms work, but like that would make sense. Or like maybe it's like the bad animation, like it makes sense, right? It's kind of there. But either way, we end up having some fellas which are apparently they're trying to climb a balance, a really tall like mountain thing that they're called a balance beam for some reason, and then eventually as they try to find out, wait, what is it? Hold on, wait a minute. What is this called? Battle for what? Battle for Host Powers? BFHP? Well, that's not the name of the show. That's the name that's on the screen. It's not the name of the show. Okay, whatever. But anyways, you have our host here, which I'm not gonna lie, looks like a knockoff winner. And they don't have a name. Their name is and they end up doing a host for a prize, which is my powers. And then they end up having the challenge, which is to run to the finish. The contestants can do that, and then like a billion people are up for elimination. We have an interesting mention here of an immunity ticket, which apparently you can win, and it allows you to be safe. A little bit of a misunderstanding of how immunity tickets work. You're supposed to be, like, an immunity token, you're supposed to be able to use it before an elimination to make you safe before you know. If you have it's too OP to have an immunity ticket that you can only use after you get eliminated, because that's just a second life in disguise. Because why would you ever get eliminated and not use it, right? So, like, in 100% of situations, you need a ticket that allows you to be safe, like, that you have to use before. If you can use it after you've been announced as eliminated, then that's crazy, right? That's just too OP, so keep that in mind. Episode 2 of TBAOS is titled, 2A, is titled The Amazing Coloration of the World. Let's go. Alright, that is TBAOS 2A, which we have discovered is the badly animated object show, sorry. Which, yeah, I mean, that's roughly what I said. I said, like, the bad animation object, like, close enough, right? So you see, there was an interesting thing that I was trying to find out, right? And it was like, I was looking at the beginning, and I was like, well, this looks a lot cleaner than episode 1. But why? Okay, it's because, basically, there's this thing that something goes around. It's like you can make a hand-drawn object show. It's in, like, you know, every time you redraw the answer real quick, right? And it's like, in general, both episode 1 and episode 2A, before the color, of course, do this. Then I was like, why does this look better? And, well, it's for a very simple reason. It's because of just standard, right? Like, episode 1 could look like this, you know? Like, I'm sure the quality of, like, being capable of drawing a line is there. However, the simple standard of, like, what is good enough is, like, firmly changed, you know, from, like, this episode. Like, you could see just how much more cruelly every single time you see this host is, compared to here, where the host that, like, I mean, like, a couple of times they're still crude, but they're much more consistent, right? So that's kind of, like, the main thing that you can really notice here. But anyways, after the elimination, they're having Twig eliminated, and then a star drops in from the sky, and then the fucking color gods, or whatever, appear. The color gods, which are Nero, whatever the fuck that is, Star, and Mooney. So these three came by and decided to give the color to the world. Alright, because they can. The host is mad because they're interrupting the show and they want to join. However, only one of them can join. Okay, I'm gonna be for real with you. Yo, these are the gods who came by from the sky and gave your world color. You are disrespecting the gods right here by not letting them join the season. I'm gonna be 100% honest. This is disrespect to godlike beings. I think all three of them should join the show. I'm gonna be absolutely for real. Like, come on, they have just done such an important thing to the world. The minimum you can do is appease their request to play in the badly animated object show. Come on, they again voted. Like, come on, these people. Whatever. Episode 2B of TBAOS is titled The Steelers. Let's go. Go. Alright, so that is episode 2B of TBAOS. So, we have, I got like 2/3 of what I wanted. 2 of the gods joined, so that's cool. I mean, I know that they're not gods, but, like, come on, they gave color to a world, like, pretty much, right? So we end up having the intro, which, by the way, okay, hold on. By the way, let's actually have a little bit of a chat about this. Well, the intro is pretty fine, but I must admit that, like, when it comes to, like, casts, you know, this is one of the most unashamedly, I just took objects from other shows that I think I've ever seen. Because, like, pillow, phone, pencil, a freaking paper, marker, like that, like, bro. There are a lot of characters that are just characters also in other shows. At least, you know, they're not just the character, like, they're switched up. It's not just paper, it's not just marker, like, it's a different character. And I do believe that there can definitely exist characters, like, so, like, oh, the BFDI has a marker, there can be no other markers in object show history. Like, no, that's just wrong. Like, there's not a monopoly on it. However, I think it's interesting how, like, it just does not care that it's in a number show at all. Anyways, Marker and Nero get to pick the teams for some reason. I don't know why. But they end up picking their own team. So we have team, I don't know, comprised of a pencil, pillow, bouncy ball, Wally, not the robot. Just like a wall, a stickman, and a paper. And then we end up having the other team that ends up being called the Markers with the other people. We don't get a full cast image of their team, which is unfortunate because those are useful. But anyway, the challenge is that there's a lot of balls that are dispersed around, and you need to get the most of them for your team to be safe. So, they end up going over, and it seems like the Markers are doing excellently, going 7-2 up on the scoreboard. They're truly looking impressive. However, then Pencil ends up realizing the strategy. Nobody said that we are not allowed to just take the balls from their bucket and put it in our basket. Phone ends up going, isn't that cheating? And Pencil goes, bad loser. They don't go ask the host, as far as I'm aware, or at least if they do, the host doesn't care about it. So that means they don't complain. But then my always question is, like, okay, yeah, they're one behind now. So they go over to fetch the ball from the mountain, which takes a while, and they end up not landing it. But I mean, like, it's kind of that point where it's like, okay, if you stole the balls, though, at that point, wouldn't you just, like, steal it back, you know? Like, you gotta play dirty to beat a cheater, right? At the end of the day, you know? So it's like, I don't know why it is. Like, I thought that would just, start a battle, because, like, if you can take from me, I can take from you, right? Then it starts a proper tussle there. But no, apparently the other team is too busy trying to play nice to really do much of anything. But yeah, unfortunate Nero, they couldn't quite land the shot. That means that their team is up for elimination. Who should get out? Probably somebody like Clipboard, who barely did anything. But I don't really know. Either way, something's going on in the elimination dimension that is still not colored. Star's here, so maybe Star can, the color god can out here fix some color. But anyways, for some reason they do some like to Twig, and now Twig doesn't remember them, which is interesting. They look pretty shocked about this. So, like, hold on, Twig introduces Star to them, and then Star does a blah blah blah, and now Twig doesn't know who they are again. So, like, what? I don't know what's happening. I don't know what this lore is. I feel like it's pretty confusing, but I'll trust it. It's time for episode 3 of TBAOS, which is titled Markers, Ukulele, and the Cancellation. Oh, damn. Alright, let's go. Alright, it is episode 3, and things have changed around here because it's been a while since episode 2. So, no, like in terms of time. But, like, we end up having, some, I would say definitely animation improvements. I actually like quite a bit how this host's limbs are. I don't know what it is about it. I like it. I think that there's some relatively solid things going on here in terms of how things actually look. I believe it says firm improvement. However, everything in life arrives with trade-offs, so that means that this show has completely given up at doing lip syncing. To any type of degree. So it is doing the classic thing of going, if I just do one loop of a mouth opening and closing, it looks like they're talking. Yes, but, like, you need to understand, if if you're saying, well, for example, that's just one mouth open animation, but instead a character goes like, well, and the mouth is going like, well. Like, it just doesn't work like that, you know. So it's like awkward. So personally, I would prefer, like, okay, I don't know, maybe this is an unpopular opinion, like, I don't really know what the general consensus is on this stuff, but in my opinion, just having the mouth open, and then it just stays open for the entire length of the conversation, I believe is less distracting and more correct than just having the mouth go ba 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 ba. You know, it's opening and closing constantly, because that's just distracting and is never correct, right? So, like, surely, at least with the mouth open, you can understand, okay, this is speaking and then this is not speaking, right? And then you can just lip sync whatever you actually want, right? But either way, we end up having 5 votes, and the eliminated contestant to be a Clipboard. Not really, actually. They didn't get the most votes. However, Clipboard ends up getting eliminated because they don't want to. So they end up leaving and exiting this universe. You can do that! Okay, you know what? Maybe the color gods weren't that good after all. If there's freaking the universe transportation that you can just do. Like, what the fuck? Okay, bro. But either way, they end up not being eliminated. So the challenge is to get their Twitter account unbanned because the host murdered somebody yesterday. Why? Nero is understandably just kind of upset about this. But either way, we end up trying whatever they can. Marker decides to pull out the ukulele and do the ukulele apology. This is obviously, of course, the meme. I'm sorry, by the way, how? Okay. Real talk. How the fuck is this a real thing that happened? How is this apology a real thing? Somebody's like, yes, I should sing for my apology. You know, if I get canceled, which I don't plan on doing, yeah, I might have to pull it out. I'm not gonna lie, I might have to pull out the I'm sorry for the mistakes that were made. You know, but either way, yeah, that doesn't work. But thankfully, Nero's going, yo, why don't you take accountability and say sorry? And then somehow the host says that it worked, even though they literally didn't do it. Like Nero suggested, and I was like, what? Nobody's ever tried that before. And then they proceed to not try it, and it works anyway. So I feel like you might be just making up some bullshit. But either way, well, the other team's up for Elim. It's not a great, it's not a great challenge because at the end of the day, I mean, Penso had like one scene. Dude, who even had a scene in this team? Like nobody. Like literally, who? Like Penso had a scene, and that's it. Yeah, no, Penso had a scene. Everybody else didn't have a scene. So like, it's pretty bad in terms of that, because like, you know, the team that should be up for Elim should have screen time, you know, just like they should. But either way, by the way, what is this ending music, bro? This is fire. This is fire. I need this ending music ASAP, bro. This credits. Alright, time for episode 4, which is titled Wishes and Wisdom. Here we go. Alright, that is episode 4 of TBAOS, or, well, the Badly Animated Object Show. So, yeah, you have yet again been a handful of changes. And, okay, what's the best way I can describe this? Okay, I think the best way I can describe this show is that it is really trying, you know? Like, you can tell it wants to be something really, 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 really badly. Like you can tell how much this show, like, at the end of the day, right, it's got the limitations of being roughly the same crew that made, like, even episode 2, right? However, you can tell it's really trying to push itself to its limits, right? To try to make the animation cool, to try to write an intriguing story, to try to have good audio, right? Like, it's trying to sort itself out in every single department, and you can feel that it's trying a lot, right? And, like, I'm gonna be honest, okay? It's not perfect. Like here, in this episode specifically, it does somewhat feel like it's trying a little bit too hard. However, I do think that, like, this is the type of stuff that it's still good. Like, even though it's trying, you know, a little bit too hard. Like, for example, like facial expressions are definitively way too exaggerated, you know. Like, again, it's trying to give us a lot of variety, right, which is cool, but like there's a certain point where this is not, where you don't need that much, you know. Like these fellas over in the underground, right, when they're having the conversation, right, and they reach the door or whatever, right, like the amount of faces that they end up making in this one stretch of time that are different to other faces, it is just so many. And then the people's wishes, and then like Wally and stuff with the wishes, right, like all this stuff is like, yeah, I mean, like there, like you see how it's kind of exaggerating because it's really trying to work to make itself varied and distinct and look cool, but there's a certain point where, like, you know, it has to pace itself a little bit. It has to go like, okay, yo, let's chill. Right. And for writing, it is doing lore. Okay, so apparently we have discovered. Okay, so first of all, okay, let's actually run through the episode, okay, real quick, because a lot of stuff happens in this episode. So, we end up having the host drop by for a bit, and then Stickman just so happens to fall into the bottomless pit, the famous one. And then they proceed that Marker and the Cactus end up falling off as well because they accidentally break the ground below them. It just so happens that everything below the ground, as we discovered, is 100% hollow. So, we end up having an intro, which, by the way, you see, dude, this face with the pull out the ukulele, like, we'll never see that face again. Like, it's just like, it's cool. It has to chill itself out a little bit, you know, because it's like, when you because, like, here's the reason why it's a bit weird, is because one of the most important elements of any show is style, right? So when you have such an unbelievable variance in faces and facial expressions and all that stuff, you are directly hurting style, because there isn't a style. It's just whatever we feel like in the moment, right? That's like the main thing that gets hurt when you do a lot of very facial expressions. So it has to find the style that it thinks this is good, and then eventually try to, you know, follow it more in the path. Not saying that it can switch itself up from time to time. Absolutely it can. But again, in significantly higher tier of moderation. Right? But anyways, we have ourselves here an intro revision. By the way, like, yet again, yeah, it's mildly revised again. Thing I just like to point out is Nero's name spelled like that. Like, do you have to point, like, because it's the only name. For some reason, it has an exclamation mark at the end. Like, it's Nero exclamation mark. That is the name. Legally, on the documentation, it is the name. So, we know about that. And anyways, they end up finding a rock that well, the fellas over in the overground, in the grasslands end up finding a rock that grants them wishes, and it's from another universe because they can just TP from universes, and it does everything except they don't like people who didn't believe in the rock. So yeah, when they wish those Stickman to come back, it didn't work. It does kind of how wishes work, like a kind of at random. With caveats like, oh, I wish for the host to come back. Yeah, the host comes back. Doesn't mean they can't leave in a minute, right? Like, it does the classic cheesiness stuff. However, you know, they have fun with the rock for a while. I feel like, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like this show is treating interdimensional travel a little bit too lightly. I feel like that is a bigger deal than the show is making it out to be. But, you know, I guess okay. And anyways, eventually Stigman falls down at the bottom of the bottomless pit, because it is apparently not bottomless. It is just very, very deep. And we end up dropping down as Marker and Cactus eventually end up going over and finding Stickman, and then they proceed to adventure off to try to find, because they try to go in that direction, which is the only direction they have apparently. No, can you go to the other one? You can go left or right, but either way, yes. They end up using up their wishes and everything, and then eventually we end up finding a doorway with the word exit written on it. That makes sense. That will probably be the exit. However, they end up deciding, yo, but this place kind of sick as fuck. Let's go check it out. And it's like, you know, fair enough. They're currently not doing a challenge, and, you know, like, again, we've got multi-dimensional travel. Surely this guy can teleport, right? Surely the host can teleport somebody if they need to be there. So, We end up having the exploration. Then again, we're making fun with the rock. Then Marker ends up reaching another different epic doorway with a password that ends up being 8267. Because yes, because haha. And then it ends up opening the door. But was 6-7 a meme yet? Hold on, this was 3 months ago, October 2025. I feel like it wasn't a meme. I feel like that might be on accident. I'm not gonna lie. But like either way, we end up having the fellas, the Rock has a goofy voice. They want to get turned into a markable plushie. They get turned into a markable plushie, and then they end up getting to the book. Okay, so this is the lore relevant sentence. Okay, beware of the shapeshifter. The shapeshifter is an unknown person who goes around draining all life and energy from worlds. This entity is very dangerous as it has powers. I would know myself since it has been to my world and destroyed it. I send this message through the portal he left with. Okay? If he found the book, he is likely hiding the book away in a secret room so no one finds out. Alright? Seems like he's doing that. He doesn't know I'm still alive. He thinks I wrote this book, probably before I actually died. But he also doesn't know you're here. Whatever you do, don't let him know you are here. And one last thing, he makes people think he is innocent by making them compete in a competition show. If you start noticing little glitches in the world, it is already too late for you. That is the monologue. I feel like I needed to read that out because that is a monologue. We are definitely gonna run overtime on this one, but like whatever. I want to talk about this episode. That was cool. So like I don't know what is this? So like so there's another fella who died or didn't die, one of the two, who apparently he was warning us about the host, right? Because shapeshifter can has powers, right? Has powers. Is there to drain more than does a competition show, right? So that's interesting. They're hosting a competition show to seem as innocent, and then they need to go off and find it because the world is not having little glitches yet. Little glitches are currently not happening, so that's interesting. Then they need to portal he left. You see, again, this makes multi-world travel seem difficult. But like Clipboard just do it. I don't know what's going on. Is traveling between worlds complicated or not? But like, all right, that's interesting. They end up deciding that they're gonna bring the book to Nero probably because Nero has powers. So they're gonna try to do that. So all right. They end up taking the book and to eventually, when they're in a safe location, bring it over to Nero. They take the book. We end up having an alarm rung off, and they end up going to the exit. Okay. One thing I want to point out, I actually like the music selection here. I pointed it out with whatever the hell the credits theme is. No, that's not the credit, the voting screen theme, which was the credits in the last episode. That was fire. But like, I actually am a big fan of the usage of the alarm as an actual musical component in the song, it makes for a very nice montage because it flows in so seamlessly into it, right? Like the alarm is the start of the song. That's kind of that's sick, right? So I really like that, and I think a lot of the music is great. I might I'll hire Catchup, new Catchup intro. No, I'm joking. But like either way, we end up having a debut, yay! Because it's not a competition episode. Because there was too much time for a competition episode. Who is up for debut? Chip bag of K's, a sound machine which looks pretty cool. We end up having a apple. And then Nixon, who looks cool. They can't speak, however, well, first of all, there's no character with any type of proper disability that I can immediately imagine within the cast. So I think Nixon's cool, and also Nixon very obviously looks like they have some sort of powers to them, right? Like they can fly, they've got this they seem like some type of angel figure. So Nixon by a country mile gives me vibes of would enhance the story because we need somebody with powers. Because right now the only people that we know have direct powers are the trio of the color, which what I'm calling the color gods, but So like we know about them, but other than that, I don't really know. So I think Nixon would be the most interesting one to add on. So I hope that they join, even though I of course I have no idea. We end up having the credits. You see, like these credits are the perfect example of like what I mean when I mean that this show's really trying. Like it does not for in any fucking shape, capacity, reason, or be need to make credits that look like this. It does not. Like, it just objectively doesn't. You know, this is entirely because it wants to look cool. You know, like, this is try hard extreme. You know? Like, literally, what show does this? Literally no show does credits like this. Even it only reserved the credits for this for the finale. I don't know if VFDI has ever done this. Like, this is extreme. For it, like, and that's like the best example that I can give. We end up having we end up having the host eventually find out that the book was taken, and then we end up having them discover that the cat is important. The star ends up finding out that apparently we end up having Star be like, hey, I have this weird feeling that what did he say? I have this feeling that nobody's thinking about us in any way, even though they should, to avoid doom. I mean, that is said by Star, which is one of the color gods, so maybe that's related, right? But I mean, they did think of talking to Nero, so like there's a correlation there. By the way, this place looks different. It's like grayed out, which is probably nicer than it just straight up being white. So in general, there we go. Oh yeah, and then also there is whatever the fuck this last thing is. I don't know, it just looks like a guy with horns. It looks like a pony. So not really sure what's going on, but overall that is TBAOS. What I think of this is cool. I'm not gonna lie, I can really feel that it's trying to push itself to the top. And it's gonna, like, I wouldn't personally recommend changing it. I wouldn't recommend it doing anything different, because I think that it's like, yes, this is kind of like this still has problems. However, it's those types of problems that like you gotta trial and error into it, right? It's like when you make a couple episodes, you start to realize what is too much, right? You start to figure out how to write your story in a more cohesive way. Like, it's just kind of things that you gotta do it. So I wouldn't actually recommend it to change much of anything. I think it's going in the right direction. So this show, certified cool. Hopefully there will be an episode within the next ever. So, alright, yeah. Not sure if there's the next thing. If there is, we'll jump into it. Alright, last thing for today is going to be a one-episode series. However, it's going to be a one-episode series that it has a 15-minute episode, so it's relatively lengthy. I once got a request to watch this series titled SMWG, which I believe stands for Show Me Whatcha Got. It was created by Goofy Blub. I believe that's how you'd say that. Created with 953 subscribers. It was the episode was released about 1 month ago. It's accumulated a solid 6,000 views for a small channel. I say that's a nice number. I genuinely have nearly no knowledge about what it is. Like, I don't know anything except the fact that I got requested to watch it. So you know what to do. It's time to watch it. Let's go. Okay, that is SMWG1. There is a lot to say about this. Like a lot to say about this. But before I say anything about the show itself, I just want to point out that in the description, okay, it says that, sorry this is edited weirdly, curse you foul 15-minute time limit. What? Wait a minute, 15-minute time? What do you mean? That's not a thing. What? I mean, like, hold on, okay. So, there is a 15-minute time limit, I think, on YouTube if your channel is not verified with a phone number, okay? But wait, really, you can't verify? You don't have a phone number? Like, you can, like, come on, like this is, I don't know. Like, you can even do it without a phone number. I've actually done it before. It's like, did you know that there's freaking like 30-minute phone websites where you can just use it to verify? You just have to find a phone nobody else has verified it within the last like day, and stuff like, and then you'll be good, right? Like, it's just you can do this. Like, you can verify using a phone number. Come on, like, this cannot, like, so an episode won't ever be longer than 15 minutes because it's just not allowed to, because this channel somehow can't verify itself with a phone number. Like, what? But beyond that very, very weird detail, we can jump into the show itself. So we end up having a bit of an introduction about Summer, TV advert about Summer, as Cap eventually turns it off. Cap is the first character that we get to see, and we get to see the style pulled off in its full with Cap. You can just see from how the mouth is, from how the eyes are, the thinness, the limbs that aren't like noodle limbs, they're like more properly limbed out. You can more properly like observe that this show has one hell of a style. I mean, like, that is absolutely the thing that sticks out like a sore thumb, is just this show has absolute style to it. It does a very interesting job of animation. Nearly every character that you see is made to be interesting. Like, this show doesn't want any character to not be extremely intriguing at some point. Even if it's like a background character, it is making sure that this is a character who has some sort of unique, distinct design capability. So, like, even for example, for a character like Abrasive, you'll notice, right? The Abrasive should be relatively chill, right? Because there's not too much to it. However, they still make a unique design for it by having those squarer eyes, right? Like, this is a unique design. Despite it. And then for a lot of other characters, you just simply lean into the object nature of it a lot more than how a lot of people, would do it for like the proper itself, right? So, like, for example, a guitar, it's not just a guitar with eyes and a face. You take it way more directly, right? You end up taking the strings like if it was hair, and then you end up having, the hole that a guitar usually has, and you treat that as an eye, and you end up having a Cyclops character. You see, like, it's a lot of like smart direction ideas that it ends up taking like into it. Same thing goes, for example, with like the end having a nose, right? As of the end itself, right? And then like all of these things are surprisingly cool, right? And it ends up making for like one absolute hell of a cast. So let me try to find the full cast image here, because we end up having of 27 people. No, sorry, wait. Yeah, the 28. I don't know the number of people who are there. So we have heard. Okay, so let me try to go through these people relatively quickly, because of course they don't have a lot of screen time. It's a 15-minute episode with 20 characters to show off. We're having Hurdley, who is apparently super buffed, wants to be as strong as possible. Can't really touch people because they're too strong, so can't really do a handshake. We end up having what are you? This is gonna be a class. This shows that are really stylized are gonna make me definitely struggle to to understand what characters are supposed to be. There's like a bookshelf that directly has their eyes as books and their mouth as like a books that open and close. That's fire. There's a character that's just a clock. There's a character that's like a stop sign or like signy. I know that there's a number of famous objects here that's a character that looks nearly exactly like this. There's a character that's like one of those noodle thingies that like wave in the wind. Okay, that's cool. There's an umbrella that's super nice. There's a Pop-Tart fella that's like a evil like dog type character, There's like a plant whose eyes are leaves. Oh my god. There's the sailboat who has the eyes be super like stretched out to fit the sailboat. Like, you end up having the perfume that's of course being the super fancy character. The calculator who is of course eyes or the calculator screen itself, right? Yeah, there's a lot of ideas here. There's also I think the main thing that definitely stands out here is just the unafraidness to have to not necessarily forcibly include everything, right? Like, the amount of contestants here that only have one eye, I mean, like, what, it's like 4? Like, it's a lot of them, and the characters without a mouth is also like, it's both of the hosts, and it's a couple other characters as well, right? So, like, it ends up being really, like, it really does create a pretty excellent variety. And of course, the style itself, I will say that, like, it definitely may not be for everybody. It leans itself very extreme. I would say, like these characters are very colorful, and they're very varied, and they also, and just kind of in the way that it goes, right? This is kind of thing about this style with like the non-noodle limbs and stuff, is that these characters, they just feel bigger, if that makes any sense. Right? So that means that they literally just feel like they take up more space on a screen at any given time, right? However, in general, they end up like being relatively cool. I personally think it's really nice. I mean, there's a couple where like I'm not a massive fan of the style. Like, I don't think the arms for Hurdley look great, but like it's just kind of a style thing, like you can have preferences. And either way, we end up having the characters. By the way, they all go to summer college, whatever it is. They think it's just going to be a regular thingy until eventually the host reveals that, no, we're actually doing a competition show. And in this competition show, you will get to win a golden diploma. I know, right? And you'll apparently be on television as a paid actor. And then we end up having the space board, okay? The space board is how the challenge tends to get transpired out. So you will receive a star, and there are no eliminations. Whoever has the most stars at the end of the show will win the prize. So what do we think of this system? Well, this system is interesting because it means that the 26 to 28 characters that are in this show right now are the 26 to 20 characters that will be in the show forever. I don't know how many challenges there are going to be done. However, there's going to be a good chunk of them, right? And this is good and also maybe not great. Why? It's because it ends up sort of hurting itself a bit, right? Because it's like usually how object shows go, right? Is they end up sort of having to disperse screen time unevenly in the first batch of episodes, right? Because it's got a lot of characters, so it just has to focus on what's important, right? Which means that certain characters are going to be left out for even just a couple of episodes, right? Until eventually it's their time. However, in this, it does kind of hurt because, it'll hurt the show more because every single episode will forcibly have to deal with this problem, right? Especially if we're dealing under a mysterious 15-minute time limit, right? Because, it just continually, there will always be too many characters for the amount of time that it works with. I mean, in this challenge that you'll notice, freaking 12 people or something, half of the people just pretty much give it a light spin, and then it obviously doesn't make it. Half the characters don't even try, right? So it's kind of one of those things where it's unfortunate that every challenge will probably feel like a lot of the contestants in it we don't get to see it, right? Because as it goes, also with a spaceboard, it's you see this challenge doesn't feel 100% complete because why didn't majority of these people try? I don't know. They just gave up with the donation. You don't have to. You don't have to. You're here. You might as well. What else do you have better to do? It's just, you don't have to on the first day. Shut up, bookshelf. Come on, what the fuck else you gotta do? And it's one of those things that hurts as well because, especially when you have challenges like this, it's kind of difficult to not see everybody doing it, right? Because, you have to, surely, right? You have to see everybody's reasonable attempt at it. Well, but, in this challenge, it just pretends that, no, half these people didn't want to. And it's what? I thought everybody was really into the idea of the competition show. But then now, as soon as you have to do a challenge, nope, bail, right? So, I don't know if I'm 100% into this. I feel like this type of system definitely works, but it needs a much more controlled type of cast because that way, you can do it. Because also, it's how are you going to do dynamics and arcs and any of that stuff, right? Character development, if there's just so many people at once. Because, if you're going to do 50 minutes, I'm guessing that these episodes, because of course one of the ways to fix it by just making episodes longer. If the episode's 30 minutes, then yes, the challenge can show off everybody. However, 15-minute time limit. So, if we're playing along those rules, it's I can't reasonably imagine character development or arcs or any of that stuff because it's it's just gonna have to be majority of the challenge for it to be any satisfying, right? So it's just gonna be a little bit complicated. I'm kind of I'm struggling to see the pathway here, right? With this spaceboard, if it was half the cast, I think it'd be fine. If the cast was 12, I think that it'd be solid. Right, because it'd be really nice because it'll allow the contestants to properly, like, it allows for a more direct understanding of the scoreboard itself. It allows for a better understanding of the arcs of what the rivalries are gonna be, who's gonna be on the rise, gonna be on the low, right? Because like with this, there's just too many people that we're gonna be needing to keep track of. I understand this is episode 1, but like, you know, imagine you're on episode 7. This type of stuff is gonna become important. You know, we need to think of this before it becomes a problem. You know, like this is interesting. So I do believe that this concept is mildly flawed. I think that there are too many characters for the amount of time that this show reasonably has to do a challenge that has to show off everybody, which is going to be nearly every single challenge under the format here. Because it should majority be individual challenges. Yes, it will probably do team challenges. Let's be for real. The next, I'm predicting that the next episode of this would be a team challenge because it just kind of makes sense. It's a bit of a cheap way to solve the problem, so they're gonna do it. But like realistically, I think the majority of challenges should be individual. But like in general, it ends up being a relatively interesting. By the way, this challenge, so there's like a 50-pound metal ball that you have to bring over, like it's a strategy challenge. 50-pound metal ball that you have to get to the finish. So how do you do this? But like you get one grab at it or something, and then with this one grab, you have to get the ball over the finish line. If you drop it or let go of it or do anything, you cannot touch it again. Like you get one touch's worth. So like for example, if you touch it, you get to try to push it, and you can keep your hand on it. But if you let go, it doesn't work, or whatever. Basically. And then I mean, like you can let it go, but as soon as it stops moving, you are out. Okay, so like you can do a throw, for example, and it'll let go of your hand, but as soon as it stops moving, you are out of there. So that is roughly how the idea has been concerning. Characters that have some sort of wind functionality to them end up just trying to use them. So like the wind blower or whatever else tries to do it. However, we end up having a couple of of characters ended up doing a little bit of a sabotage, you know, saboteur, but in general it ends up it mainly end the character that's like a plug fella ends up kind of flopping, but either way we end up having some cool ways, you know, like the teapot getting angry, so they end up steaming, and then they end up getting the ball through them that way, or like the math fella who ends up calculating that, oh, if I let it go and then I open the flap up, it'll yeet itself. Like, that's smart, right? Yeah, that's using math correctly. A couple of characters just are strong enough to land the throw, right? Like Hurtley, for example. And in general, yeah, some things are cool. Not 100, like a couple of these feel a little mildly cheap. You know, like, oh, the ball was still moving below the banana peel. Like, let's be for real, would it? I feel like it probably wouldn't. But like in general, like I roughly get it. Or like a toucan randomly arriving and dropping it by, right? Like it's kind of so some of these things are actually, of course, end coming in with the sabotage. Like was it? I don't know. But either way, whatever. This challenge is relatively solid, I would say. There's a couple of little rule sets that I think end up making it, you know, a little bit more on technicality, right? Like the factoid that, like, hold on, but you can only grab it. Wait, I thought, hold on. Okay, you know, maybe I don't understand this challenge. So like, you can grab it again if it's still moving. Because I'm confused. For example, in this last moment, Cap drops by, like, gives a little spin to the ball so that he slowly moves forward. They go back, grab the signee, and then they grab their ball again. But under my understanding of how this challenge worked, you get one push, one spin, and then you can't do it again, right? Because otherwise you could just do spin, like you can just kind of like roll it along, right? But the idea was that you only got one touch, so that way you had to at least do a full carry of it, right? You have to do a full carry or full throw, like something to it. So I don't know if this is, so like, I maybe I misunderstood the challenge, but either way, we end up having the starboard there get closed off as they go over into their dorms. Do I have where is the results? I don't know. Let me see. That's game Cap both receive a star. Okay, so the star recipients were the tent fella. I don't think you're a tent, but like whatever. Dude, what are half of these things? The end, the silhouette, the signy, the knot fella, your scarf. No, you're a scarf. You're a scarf with like a knot on it. The hurdle, the teapot, the cap, the evil fella, the evil cube, and then two other things that I have no idea what they are. Oh yeah, the end thing. What the fuck are you? You're like the Cyclops with one eye and you're blue. You look like a Ziploc. You look like a blue Joy-Con. And then there's like a sleeping mask. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm bad at spotting character names. But either way, yeah, out of the 20 or so contestants, the only one who actually bother enough to push along. Again, this challenge isn't even that complicated. Theoretically, the best tactic is to just push it along, just take the hit. But yeah, out of the 27 people, only about 11. Wait, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 people do it. 10 people do it. So like that's like less than half. And considering this challenge is, in my opinion, not that difficult, I'm worried about these people. I'm not gonna lie, I'm worried about these people. But overall, my opinion on the show, the style of it is excellent. Like it may not be everybody's cup of tea with just how extreme it is on like the making objects unique, right? And like because it becomes less standardized on purpose, but like so it may not be everybody's cup of tea. However, like for me, I personally think it's really cool, and for who it is, it'll work great. I think the style is great. I do believe that I think that the writing for this is kind of like, for this episode, I accept it, especially because I have to do the whole intro stuff, but I don't think it's going to get better because there's not going to be eliminations, and I don't know how much time is really going to have to work with, like, I'm kind of worried about that, so it might have to try to fix that. And in general, though, other stuff going good. Audio for this is solid. The only thing that I would say is that maybe some of the characters with a voice effect end up being a little hard to understand. Like the evil cube, not 100% sure what the evil cube is saying when there's other audio layered on top. Like the first time they're having an evil monologue, no idea what they said. Gonna be for real. But again, that's also just a skill issue. I'm just bad at understanding things. So, yeah. Overall, this is pretty fire, but we need to get you a fucking phone number, bro. You can't. What do you mean you're not verified on YouTube? Wait, but if you're not verified on YouTube, you can't even put in a thumbnail. Does this video have a thumbnail? Wait a minute. Give me a fucking moment. Wait a minute. Wait, it doesn't. Oh my god. Wait. Does it? It might. I don't think it does. No, because like, is that a thumbnail? now I'm debating whether this screen cut that I'm looking at is a thumbnail or not. Like, is this like because YouTube does auto-genning thumbnails? You can add your own, which is obviously what every show does. Bro, that's just a screenshot, right? That's just a screenshot. Oh my god. So that means that it's one of the YouTube auto-selected ones. That is so sad. Dude, okay, alright, boys. It's time. Road to phone number. We gotta do it. We gotta get it. We gotta verify this YouTube channel, right? we gotta get this YouTube channel verified so we can go over 15-minute length of video upload. Come on. Like, what, you think these videos are 2 hours on accident? Like, what are we doing? Anyways, I have gone way overboard on this. Let's go to an outro already. Alright, that will be all for today's episode of Object Catchup. Overall, I'd say that went alright. We took a look at a couple of things. It wasn't exactly what I was aiming for. I'm going to be 100% for you. I was aiming for something a little bit different. However, I still believe that the stuff that I took a look at today is relatively good. It progresses on the request pile, which is a fucking mess. But it gets progression there on that front. We can get to work on other stuff for the next few days that is going to need to be there because there's some big shows that I gotta watch soon. So in general, we are making work on both aspects of it. I would say day in day out. So I think that overall the job is going pretty well there. And overall, that is all for the shows that we watched. We are pretty much all caught up. See you next time. Goodbye.